Hello and welcome to Blueprints Behind Business interview series. I'm your host, Brad Douglas, and today I'm excited and I'm joined with Evan Lutz with Launchpad Digital, Gabriel Security, and BowTiedCyber. Evan, thank you so much for joining us. Would love for you to kick it off. Give us a little brief background about yourself and your businesses here.
Oh gosh, where do I begin? Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Maybe I'll start my technological journey started in um, 2019. I joined a cybersecurity boot camp that absolutely changed my life because the mentor that I had was one of the best hackers in the world, Michelangelo Vienne. And from there, I ended up getting a job in cybersecurity, working for a local cybersecurity startup in downtown Fort Myers. And that's what brought me here. And I've been here ever since. I then, a couple of years after that, started a business that started with a written publication, helping people start their careers in cybersecurity, bypassing the whole boot camp thing that I did. Years after that, I had students who came to me and said, "Hey, when are you going to start your own cybersecurity boot camp?" And I'm like, "Why? It's all right there and it's cheap. It's $20 a month. Like, why would I need to charge you more?" And they're like, "No, no, no, you don't understand. We want you. Like, we want you to teach us. We want you to be the one that we can go to for questions and guidance and mentorship and one-on-ones and all that jazz." And I said, "Okay." So I started a cybersecurity boot camp, sold seats between 1,500 and 3 grand, and sold out the first 10 seats in 24 hours. And then and that was my first like real taste of money in business, where all of a sudden I had made 20 grand overnight. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, I can finally control my own destiny. Added another 10 seats, sold out those 10 seats after another week. Right up before we started the first lecture, there was somebody who said, "Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to miss out." And then they impulse bought and came into the boot camp. One of the best decisions that they ever made. It was right before the start of that first lecture. Fast forward since, we've added 2 more programs. We have a cybersecurity boot camp, which is the original, and then we also have a cybersecurity data science boot camp, which gives you 8 weeks of cybersecurity and 8 weeks of data science. Then we also have a tech sales boot camp, which gives you 8 weeks of tech sales and 8 weeks of cybersecurity. And then we're going to be adding a DevSecOps boot camp, which we don't have to get into that. My techies would know what that means. And then from there, I started a cybersecurity firm naturally as an extension of doing what it is that I do, being a cybersecurity professional after all, not just an educator. And then from there, people saw my websites that I had made for my businesses, and they said, "We like your stuff. Can you make us websites?" And I said, "Yeah." And that's where the third business came from, with the Launchpad Digital Labs. And while that is still small compared to my other businesses, that is the one that is the most up and coming, that I see has the most immediate growth trajectory, because it almost feels like we're in the next .com era right now, both with cybersecurity and with websites, because everybody has a website, but most websites are terrible. And so it's a worthwhile venture for most businesses, especially if they're paying money to funnel traffic to their websites, to make sure that it's perfect so that they're making the most of their advertising dollars.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really excited to have you here. I appreciate that background. We're going to learn a little bit more about, Launchpad and more of your security services. So, I think that you really covered a little bit of the first question there about what, was the initial spark that led you into taking more of that entrepreneurial leap. A lot of the students coming to you and stuff and saying, "Hey, you're an expert here. Let's, I'd really want you to teach me."
Yeah.
So we dive into that a little bit more and thinking about, now that you've got a few businesses going, that, you've got that started. What are some of the misconceptions or common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address some of those?
Yeah. So I would say common misconceptions when it comes to running a business is that everything has to be perfect, because it's
Mhm.
not going to be. And in fact, that's, I think, the thing that has made me successful up to this point, is I am a huge believer in general of the concept of local maximums, right? If I'm going to a cigar bar, which I love the cigar bar. I'm a local at all of them, a regular at all of them. So if I'm going to a cigar bar, you're going to have cigars that range from $5 to $1,000.
Mhm.
In there, you're going to hit a point where going from $5 to $10 has a huge jump in quality. From $10 to $20 has a significant jump in quality. And going from $20 to $1,000, unless it's an exceptional cigar, is probably a concomitantly equal jump in quality. That would tell me that right around 20 bucks is our
Yeah.
local maximum, right? It
Yeah.
is. Where's the point where doing any more doesn't give me enough return to justify the investment, especially when I could look at getting a $30 drink to go with a $20 cigar instead of getting a $5 cigar and a $1,000 drink, or a $1,000 cigar and a $5 drink, right? I find business tends to be about the same way, of local maximums. And for me, and those that I've worked with, because I work with a lot of other entrepreneurs, is the nature of being an entrepreneur is you find other people who are going through your struggles, and then you just stick to each other like glue. um, that the local maximum for starting a business, bootstrapping as a solopreneur, is your MVP, your minimum viable
Mhm.
product. So I'm all about speed to market. What is the very least that I can do to get something out there to start gauging a reaction from the market so that I can iterate and then make it better? Once you have a lot of revenue coming in, you can then take a step back, bring in an expert consultant and say, how do I take this thing and make it perfect, versus making it perfect before you launch? Because until you start trying to sell something, you have no idea if people are going to actually buy it, regardless of what people think other people are going to want. Because I can't eat the promise of something doing well. Somebody thinking something is a good idea does not put food on the table. And I've been in sales in my own products for long enough now, especially when it comes to high ticket sales like my $8,000 boot camps, to know that somebody being sure they're going to do something is only a 50% chance that that actually ends up with money in your bank account.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic insight. Really taking some action. Can't be perfect. You can help a lot of people take action, and then you can refine as you get forward. So that's, fantastic insight. I appreciate that. So, you obviously are extremely busy now. You've, grown a pretty good bit. How do you maintain kind of that, I guess you could say, work-life balance as a business owner? And, do you have any kind of particular rituals or way that you stay motivated around, staying focused?
Three things. One, spirituality is incredibly important. Um, I didn't have any level of spirituality until about the last year, and then I had a literal come to Jesus moment, and that has changed my life, unlike any other worldly advice I could give somebody. But in terms of like actionable stuff that you can do that will impact your day to day outside of your spiritual life, um, getting plugged into a network of other business owners where you can do things that are both work and enjoyable. So, as I alluded to before, for me, that's the cigar bar. I take business meetings at the cigar bar whenever possible. For that reason, one, because it's incredibly conducive to business. I don't know what it is, but it's like magic. The other thing is, I like cigars. So, if I'm like smoking cigars and tasting fine whiskey, this does not feel like work.
Mm.
It's just fun, but it also happens to be work. And then I would say the third thing is having a strong team of people around you. So
Mhm.
what I've found is I don't have any employees, but I do have contractors that work for me, primarily overseas, that I continue to contract out on a recurring basis. Not only is that affordable and economically viable for people who don't have the capital to hire people in the States, you can't contract out everything overseas, sometimes for both intelligent reasons and for legal and regulatory purposes. But for the things that you can, having that dependable team that you can say, hey, here's something that I need done, go do it, that will change everything. Because if you try to do everything yourself forever, you will burn out. And there's just no two ways about it, especially if you're trying to grow in any kind of meaningful way. If you're trying to be somebody who your goal is to be a solopreneur and to make $3,000 a month by, like, selling a coaching service, let's say, and you're doing this in addition to your day job, and it's just like a fun thing for you, like, oh, if it happens, it happens, and then like that'll give me a chance to make a couple of car payments, then cool, that's fine, and there's absolutely no shame if you're that kind of person. But if you have aspirations to build something that gives you notoriety, or to build something that can give you generational wealth, or build something that can give you a platform to impact society, you're going to have to outsource.
Absolutely. Great points. Now you work in, thinking about cybersecurity and general security services. I can't imagine how much it changes. Just thinking about how do you stay adaptable and open to change when it's potentially constant, particularly in your field. And what are some of your specific strategies that you use to remain innovative in that area?
Absolutely. So, for each business, it's going to be different, but the common thread among all of them is communicating with those who are in the trenches to see and get a sense of what's actually happening right now in the real world. So for each of these three domains, we have cybersecurity education. I'm working with students all day long, getting feedback from them on what is working and what isn't, which is what gives me such a good pulse on the market. So much so that when I get students who are getting discouraged because they say, oh, I've submitted like 400 applications and got 4 interviews and I still haven't had an offer yet, I said, that's why. It's because the algorithm is for every 100 applications you put in, if you don't have experience, you're going to get on average 1 interview. On average, it takes 10 interviews to get 1 offer. You're getting interviews. You're on the right track. Nothing is wrong. Just keep going, right? But I know that because I'm in the trenches and I see it and I work with these students every single day. Cybersecurity, in the same way that if you have that network of people who are in like actually like doing this actively for their day job, day in and day out, like I used to back when I used to work in the security operations center that I built for my first cybersecurity firm, then they could tell you, hey, we're finding like that there's this new prevalent type of ransomware, and here's the mechanism by which that they're using to infiltrate networks and so on and so forth. And then in the same way, when it comes to building websites, talking to people, what's working, what's not. Like, I have this website, it's like this, it looks good. However, I can see my traffic. It's not really converting the way that I want it to. It might be because your website looks good, but you don't have a good call to action. Or it might be this framework no longer is supported well on mobile when you have these new updates that have come out, so on and so forth. So in general, the best way to keep up to date is to stay in the trenches with the people who are actually doing the work and being impacted by it. That's going to tell you so much more than any one individual person's opinion from a blog that you're going to find online, or even worse, from like a widely circulated article from mainstream media, from a journalist who like only knows as much as they had to know about it in order to write an article on said topic. And that's not a knock on journalism as a whole. That's just the nature of what it is that they do. Yeah.
No, those are perfect statements, and I agree with you. You got to be in the trenches. You got to be doing it every day, and especially in your field, it changes so fast.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, without giving away too much trade secret here, do you can you tell us a little bit of a glimpse into your future plans and maybe the next chapter that you're looking forward to in your entrepreneurial
Yeah.
journey?
So without giving away too much. So um most of what I'm doing with my cybersecurity firm is in my personal relationships, that if I have somebody in my network who wants security services, I will provide them to them. But it's not something that I'm actively trying to grow beyond what it is at this point because of my other two avenues. I'm in the process, as I mentioned, of launching another boot camp, because every time I launch another boot camp, it just gives another opportunity for somebody else who wanted to do something that's just slightly different from the core of what it is that I have in cybersecurity, and to help bring them into the fold, because we just do education and mentorship better than just about anybody else on the market. Um, and then as it pertains to Launchpad, I actually have 3 full-time staff members, contractors, and I'm looking to hire more because this has so much potential that we are about to start pumping Facebook ads for that, and figuring out which target audience is the one that we're going to really settle into our niche, because right now it's all over the map. I've got a real estate agent, I've got a pressure washing company, I've got a test prep company, I've got a landscaping company that I have coming down the pipeline, I've got a therapist who wants to make a website to help them book, I've got a cleaning company. There's so many of these different organizations that it's like in different, like in completely different unrelated domains. It's like there's no one common thread. It's not like they're all trades or they're all professional services. Like it's all over the map. So what we need to do is figure out like um, where's our highest CPA, or our cost per acquisition, to get a new client by funneling ads through like Facebook or whatever social media platforms that me and my marketing guy are gonna do. And then finding which one of those are the most like financially viable. It might be like, real estate agents, like they don't tend to like pay as much, and they tend to be more particular like about their site, and they give us less liberty to just go and do it and make it the way that we want. Versus, we find if we do landscaping companies that like they're very flexible and they like the product that we have, so it costs us less development time, which keeps our margins higher. So like there's going to be a little bit of that, but once we do, and once we like really tune in those dials, then we're just going to really ramp it up, and then that could turn Launchpad into far and away the biggest business endeavor I've had. So I'm really, really looking forward to that potential as well.
Well, I wish you all the best in that, and I know you'll be successful. Sure, you got people knocking down your door at this point in time. Everybody needs a good form and
Pretty
functional
close to
website,
it. Everybody needs a
and hopefully,
website.
hopefully
Yeah.
that looks good as well, huh? So,
Yeah.
all right. So, when you think about it, if there's anyone that you run into, because you teach a lot of people, and they're potentially aspiring to be an entrepreneur or starting their own journey, and facing what we know as some of those challenges in their business, what would you really offer to them or to the community that's going to be watching this, about starting your own business or becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Especially when it comes to local community, I make it a point to be as useful as I can to those who are just starting out but are also local. So I would say, send me an email, admin@ldlfl.com, or you can go to launchpadddigitallabs.com and you can contact me through there. Either way, if you're local and you want some help and some guidance, like get a hold of me. We'll have a phone call. If you're into cigars, we'll sit down, we'll have cigars and whiskey. And this is not for me to sell you anything. I'm a big believer in you get out of the world like what you put into it.
Mhm.
So if there's something that I can do to help you, just in like words of encouragement or a little bit of strategizing and planning or camaraderie, like all of that's great. In addition to that, if you also happen to want a website, then I know a guy and he's right here. I would say that, and if like I want to emphasize that having a network of people that you that understand your struggles and what it means to really have those good days and bad days, because it is owning a business is not for everybody. It's just not, and I think there are far more people as a result of social media today who are enamored with the lifestyle of being a successful business owner without really understanding what it entails to be a business owner. Um, I think one of the best analogies that I could give is it's akin to seeing a pro bodybuilder on stage. When you see a guy who's 5'6" and 260 pounds at 3% body fat, like absolutely shredded to the bone with like striations on his abs and veins on his face, and he's absolutely jacked. Like you might look at that and go, it's pretty cool. I bet I wish I could look like that, without realizing all of the work that and the sacrifice and the suffering that it takes to get to that point. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, if that's your jam, if that's the thing that you want, like, that's really cool. If being really wealthy is the thing that you want, that's awesome. If you're looking around waiting for your trust fund to happen and it's not coming, then maybe you need to look at what does this really entail for me to get to that point in my life, for you to then evaluate if that level of sacrifice is worth it. But yeah, insights like that maybe would be what I would bring to the local Southwestern Florida community, and occasional dad jokes.
Fantastic. Well, I know everyone's going to appreciate that. And I just can't thank you enough for your time today. It was great to meet you and learn more about your business and your entrepreneurial journey. To everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. And Evan, thanks a lot and best of luck to you. And look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you, Brad.